Hey YouTube, it's Mark from This Cruise Life coming to you from Gatsby's Garden here on the Carnival Miracle. Today I'm going to tell you the story of how I got COVID and quarantined on this beautiful ship. Stick around. The story starts in 2021. New Year's Eve, we sailed on the Carnival Miracle out of Long Beach. I recorded some videos at that time because I was going to share it with the channel. It was going to be the first videos we posted on the channel, and then decided, with all of the stuff going on with the cruise industry, I didn't want to, add some negativity to the press. So finally releasing the story and those videos this New Year's Eve while here on that same ship. Knock on wood, this year I don't end up in quarantine.
So this is my official first This Cruise Life YouTube video, and it was not the one I expected it to be making. Aboard the beautiful Carnival Miracle, the final day of our New Year's sailing, I got back from our shore excursion and was feeling quite flush and had the chills, and so per the protocol called guest services and explained what was happening, and they transferred me over to the medical center, and they said, come on down right away. Actually, we're closing at 6, and it was 5:55. So went down, explained the symptoms, and they said, okay, we're gonna do a COVID test. Had me lean back. New technique that I liked from the Carnival medical staff. They had me swallow as they inserted the tab. Apparently that makes it a little bit easier, but they dug up there. They are good testers, not the inside the nostril. And he said, okay, the test will be 45 minutes. And so I waited in the medical center in the ICU, by the ICU bed. I sat in a chair down there. They had social distancing. Everyone was wearing masks. I tried to text my cruise companion. I lost service, obviously, down on deck A, and I was using the Hub app. We had the chat feature, and he was still, of course, on the internet because we had service in Mexico, and so couldn't get through. Tried for about 45 minutes until my test result came back, and you can probably guess my test result came back positive. And so what happened next is a bit of a whirlwind. I broke down. I did not expect to test positive for COVID. I have been a huge advocate for the safety measures and all of the things that the cruise lines are doing. I'm really proud of the work that Carnival has done to keep passengers safe during the pandemic. But we've known going into this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I've lost count now, 7th cruise, I believe, since resumption. We've known it's been a risk. This entire time we've known it was a risk, and so, or there was risk. I shouldn't say it's no more risky than a lot of the other activities or events that people are going to, in my opinion. Now there are a lot of people, some senators out there that have a much different belief that cruise ships are floating petri dishes or all of that stuff. I felt very safe. I did comment on New Year's Eve, the celebration on Lido. It did feel, that was the only time on the cruise where I was like, whew, there's a lot of people up here. It was such a cool experience. I'll post some video from that experience. But otherwise, we've had masks on with the exception of eating and drinking, and we're pretty, you'll get to know us as we talk and we share more videos. We're pretty heavy on the mask police. And so at events, at any Q and Awesomes with the cruise director, the shows, we keep our masks on. And so we've taken precautions, and sometimes those precautions, as we know with the new variant, aren't enough. And so they gave me some Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol, and some Robitussin, or both off brands for the cough. Carnival. Anytime I've experienced something that doesn't go perfect, Carnival is great. The medical director said, go ahead, purchase the internet. Oh, there's room service, so I'll come back here in 2 minutes. Okay, so room service just dropped off my dinner. That's the only option I have in my new quarantine quarters or quarantine room here on deck 1. But in the medical center, back to that, they said go ahead and buy the internet so you can contact family and friends and let them know what's happening and check in. It took me a little bit because I was emotional at the time. There's just something with how much I love cruising and we love to cruise. The last thing I want to do is ever put the industry at risk. And so there was more guilt for worrying about the industry and worrying about the people that I was around than anything. And so had me emotional. They had me identify a list of close contacts and a list of all of the events that I attended throughout the week, the names of folks that we interacted with. We shared the various parties that we went to, various events that we went to, and they made a note, and they started calling close contacts. So we met great, just amazing sisters from California, Donna and Darlene, and I messaged via the app. When I was trying to find Chad, I had messaged a bunch of people on the chat hub saying, can anyone find Chad? The medical team eventually called the room, and that's how he knew to come down and test. Although they didn't tell him I tested positive, but he had a good suspicion when they said, please come down to the medical center. And so went down. Thankfully, Chad, my travel companion, tested negative. Donna and Darlene tested negative. Some other friends that we met on the trip as well, Brandon and Katie, they tested negative. And so great news. All of those folks tested negative, even though we ate dinner together or, we were in port together. Chad and I stayed in the same room. And so really not sure how this Omicron works, or how it happened. We know it's airborne and could have been in many of the different situations that we were in, but I'm super thankful that everyone else tested negative. We were in the medical center for almost 2 hours, I want to say. It took 45 minutes just to get the test results, and then we sat down there to figure out, okay, what are the next steps? And so all of the cruise lines now with the CDC have an public health officer on board, and so reviewed the options with that individual. She was great. Essentially, I had the ability or could rent a car and drive home 6.5 hours, or Carnival would arrange for a hotel stay for me in the Long Beach area. So that is what I opted to do. Since Chad tested negative, he is going to go home and he's going to quarantine. I'm going to stay in Long Beach for 4 to 5 days is what they expect. And so I'm hoping that I will start to feel better soon. I have definitely have the chills, definitely have a cough. And congested, and so I'm really, really hoping that the Tylenol and the Robitussin off-brands really start to kick in. So once we got all of that arranged, then they said, okay, now it's time to go back to your room and pack. Whew, that was tough. It's tough to pack all of the suitcases when you're not feeling good and moving things around. They advised Chad to wait out on the balcony or in the hallway while I packed. And so even though we've been together for the week, we masked up. We put on new masks, medical grade masks. I went up and packed, called the medical center. They had 2 people all waiting for me in the hallway to take me down to the quarantine wing. Fascinating. So there's an area on deck 1 that the watertight doors have been closed the entire week, and it said it has the do not enter in. And I was like, okay, didn't think anything of it. They just hadn't opened the watertight doors. So, excuse me, I should probably edit that out if I knew how. So the officers in the hallway, there was the officer and the medical personnel I saw. The officer led the way, and the medical person followed me down the hallway. There was another person in garb waiting to clean the hallway and disinfect the room. There was a crew member waiting at the elevator for our direct trip down to the quarantine floor. And so got down here to deck 1 and came to this lovely, I don't know if you can see it, this lovely room here on deck 1. And so that is where I will be. I said, do I need a key or something? And not even thinking, they said, no, stay here. So I have no key. There is an officer stationed in the quarantine hallway, I'm assuming to make sure that none of the passengers that are here leave. There are the balcony tables in the hallway where room service can set the food down so they don't have to interact with quarantined passengers at all. So that's a little bit about my experience tonight. There's a lot of red biohazard bags in this room. There's spray, there's napkins, biohazard napkins, and so lots of stuff to keep us safe. After they closed the door, I heard the hallway being fumigated or disinfected. Chad said the same thing happened upstairs, fumigated the hallway and the room. He said when he walked into the room, his eyes stung from whatever that, what they used to really essentially fumigate the room. So that's a little bit about my story. I'm feeling kind of crappy, a little bit of chest discomfort. Mostly it's the cough and the fever that are driving me up a wall. Special thanks to just my friends and family who are amazing. It's a little scary when you get quarantined to a stateroom and you have no one and don't really know. In the morning they shared they will come and get me. I will be the last person, or will be the last people off. The quarantine folks, the public safety officer will escort us off the ship. We will meet with the CDC or the local agents, not quite sure who, but we will meet there in Long Beach, and then I assume somehow escort to a hotel. I'm not sure where I will be staying, but I can give that update. So that's wasn't what I expected the first vlog or video to be. I will keep you posted. Carnival has continued to take precautions, and I am hopeful that it's a speedy recovery. So I will talk to you soon. Bye. Well, hello everyone. It is officially debarkation morning, approaching debarkation afternoon actually. Quick update from the Carnival Miracle. I have been in my quarantine room now all morning waiting for the call to tell me that it is time to debark, but no call has come, and so still waiting. It's about 11:40 in the morning. The next cruise has already started to get on board, which has been fascinating to watch. Everyone is super excited about their cruise, and so that's been really interesting. I have had the pleasure of watching crew all morning board and get off and on the ship. The crew that is leaving, I've seen them take their bags off. Like I said, the new set of passengers, so I don't know if you can see out there, but the new set of passengers, they are getting on board. People have been skipping, high-fiving. They're just having a blast. And the crew gangway is right over here. So I've been watching crew. The police officers got on this morning. So just have been experiencing a much different debarkation than I'm used to. And so I did not expect the next cruise to board before we exited the ship. That was a surprise to me to see embarkation start before we exited. And so I opened the door and looked out in the hallway earlier, and there is, let me see if I can show you actually. I'm going to mask up. I do know I have a neighbor because they've got biohazard bag outside of their room. And then let's just make sure the security guard isn't out there. So we are sheeted up as folks are exiting the gangway. What I don't know is if those folks realize, they're like, oh, there's a quarantine room and another quarantine room right next door. I called guest services this morning just to see how many folks are quarantined. They, of course, no surprise, refused to share that information, saying that it was medical in nature and so they can't share. So I can't tell you how many folks are quarantined, and the sheet that covers the hallway or that blocks off these two rooms, and then there's a fire door next to me. I know for sure these two rooms, and I've heard my neighbors use the restroom, flush the toilet, etc. And so I know for sure it's at least us, and I have a suspicion there's more, because there was a whole hallway last night of rooms with tables set outside. Yeah, so that's the update. I received a phone call from guest services about a hotel room, so they connected me to the Hilton Long Beach to book a room. Ironically, the room for the hotel stay was more expensive than the whole cruise, but safe. I'd rather be safe and responsible than not, and so going to eventually get to the Hilton Long Beach, hopefully, and I'll give an update on kind of how the debarkation process eventually works. I've joked with some of my friends that maybe I just stay on. It would have been cheaper to probably stay on the Carnival Miracle than debark and stay in a hotel, but I'm pretty sure Carnival would like me to exit the ship. I will give an update in terms of how debarkation goes, the process, just because if you ever get caught in this situation, which I hope not, I'll give an update. The one thing that I wish I would have known is, like I said, haven't heard anything this morning. I wish I would have known that. I would have just slept. I would have just continued to sleep. I got up and got ready around 8 o'clock thinking, okay, 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'll be getting off the ship. I wish I would have known that I could have just slept. I could have slept in. I could have enjoyed that. I mean, I would have missed some of the cool stuff that I've had the opportunity to see happening outside the ship. But anyway, I'll give you an update on how am I feeling. I'm still feeling a bit congested and have a cough. I'm gonna take some fever medicine now. I don't feel hot. After the shower was the best thing I could have done this morning. I feel so much better after the shower. So that's the quick update. It is January 4th, 2022. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Sharing one more update on the New Year's Eve COVID cruise aboard the beautiful Carnival Miracle. So I started getting hungry and called room service and ordered a ham sandwich. They were so confused because there was no one in my stateroom. And so then they kept asking me for my crew number. And I said, I don't have a crew number. Well, what's your crew ID? I don't have a crew ID. I'm a passenger. Passenger? I said, yes, I'm in the COVID quarantine cabins. She's like, oh, no, I know where you are. She said, I thought you were already off the ship. Mind you, it was probably 11:45 at this point, and I was like, I gotta eat something, and I'm thirsty, and so she's like, let me look up, and they went away, and I could hear them talking in the background, and she's like, Mark, from our previous sailing, you were on the previous sailing. I said, yes. I said, I'm still here, and again, she said, I did not realize you were still on the ship. She's like, well, okay, what can I get you? So I order. 5 minutes maybe go by, knock on my door. And it's the Arnell from the medical service center. And he's like, okay, we're just arranging your taxi now. And I was like, I just ordered food because I said it's almost noon and I'm hungry. And so he said, let me call them and get that up to your room. So the ham sandwich came and chips and some orange juice. I ate that quick. And he called and he's like, okay, we're ready to take you. So he's like, bring your bags out in the hallway. So I brought my bags out in the hallway. And then for some reason, I just stood there probably for about 5 minutes. The doctor was waiting there, and he's like, "Well, just a moment." And I could hear him share that they were supposed to come and fog this. They're supposed to be here right now to fog it so we can exit. So apparently they do a lot of fogging because they fogged that hallway at least 3 times this morning that I heard. I'll post a picture of what I could see through my peephole because it was fascinating. Anyway, about 5 minutes go by and he's like, okay, we've got the clearance, let's walk out. And so he opened up that curtain that I showed you in the previous video. I walked through and then I walked down the crew ramp and walked the entire area from the ship all the way back to the port, walked all of the back areas, all of the crew areas that I just watched crew exiting and entering all morning long. So today was the closest I've ever felt to a Carnival crew member. So thank you, Carnival Cruise Lines. We walked, it was a hike. It was a bit of a hike. Walked over to the exit and there was a gal holding an iPad and she's like, okay, can I have your credit card for the transportation to the hotel? It's about a 6 or 7 minute ride to the hotel. And I said, oh, okay, well, how much is it? And she shows me the iPad. $340 to go 6 minutes to the hotel. I said, I'm good. I don't really have symptoms this morning. I'll just catch an Uber. Well, no, you agreed to this price. No, I definitely did not. She said, oh, no, we talked. I talked to so-and-so, and he said he talked to you, and you confirmed the price. And so I need your credit card. I said, no, I haven't talked to anyone for 4 hours. The only people I've talked to this morning have been guest services. When they gave me Hilton's, they connected me with Hilton to book my hotel. I said, that's the only conversation I've had this morning. And then when Arnell picked me up to exit the ship. And she's like, well, please hold, and gets on her walkie and radios in. Well, guest says he hasn't received communication, but so-and-so said that they were communicating with him And she came back and she's like, so you're telling me that so-and-so did not communicate this with you? I said, no, I promise. No, the only person I talked to was guest services about the hotel. No one has talked to me all morning long. And so she gets back on her walkie. Another person comes over, and then CBP, Customs and Border Patrol, come by, and he's like, could you lower your mask? And so I lower my mask, and he has a photocopy of my boarding pass, and he's like, okay, you're good to go. And she looks at the other person, supervisor maybe, and is like, radios, CBP just cleared passenger. Like, what are we supposed to do? And so the supervisor or the other person says, hey, I just got an email. They only talked to the passenger about the hotel. There was no communication about transportation or costs around transportation. And she just it was one of those moments where you could tell she was like, ugh. So she radioed in and said the passenger or the guest has no insight to the cost. You know, what do we do at this point? And I hear her say, negative, Roger. I'm like, oh, what does this mean? And so she comes back and she's like, well, Carnival, we're going to take you to your hotel today on us. And so that was really kind and that was really great. So they walked me over they literally had a charter bus to take me, one passenger, a 60, 70 seat charter bus, 6 minutes to the Hilton Hotel where I am currently checked in and staying. So I'm feeling so much better. I'm the driver, when I got on the bus, I sat down about, maybe 8 rows back, and he looks and he's like, further. I was like, oh, okay. So I went closer to the back of the bus and so got to the Hilton, checked in, no issues, and now just relaxing in the room and hanging out until I can fly home. So that was the debarkation morning. So overall, lack of communication. I think the landside team, shoreside team thought that the ship was communicating with me. It turns out they weren't. It sounds like the individual that was supposed to be communicating with me, my morning would have made so much more sense versus just kind of sitting there for 4 hours, not sure what was going on. But overall, the experience, I told Arnell, I told the doctor, I told several of the staff, I said, I'm back next month and nothing's going to change that. I said, I appreciate, how kind you all have been, how you've treated me, how you've taken care of the situation. Could there have been a bit more communication this morning? Sure. But I feel like they took really good care. And that's the last thing. The doctor, I said, so how, is there a lot of quarantine? I said, is it this whole hallway? And he said, yeah, it's about 50 rooms. It's based on the quarantine area is based on the size of the ship. A percentage of rooms have to be quarantined off. And so he said 50 rooms. He's like, but not 50. We don't have 50 people. He's like, maybe 3 or 4. And so it sounds like it was a very small number of us who were quarantined on the Miracle. Anyway, that's probably my last update, because now I'm just going to relax here at the hotel until I can fly home, but wanted to close this chapter down. I hope that you and yours have a very happy new year. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.